I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizens who wish to participate in the public session portion of the meeting by telephone may call 336-422-1200, and you'll be placed on hold until the public session begins. That number again is 336-422-1200. Any member of the audience interested in participating in the public session portion of the meeting, you just need to fill out a speaker card, and there's some outside on the little desk there, and return it to our clerk at the end, and you could actually do that now if you have not already done so. First item on the agenda is a resolution recognizing May 2024 as Affordable Housing Month in Forsyth County. And George Redd, the Habitat for Humanity CEO, is here to receive the resolution, and Commissioner Woodbury is making her way to the podium to read the resolution. And George, you can come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Martin. And first, if I may say, as a citizen and as a Forsyth County Commissioner, I'm very proud to read this proclamation, and I thank staff for preparing it. The resolution recognizing May 2024 as Affordable Housing Month in Forsyth County, North Carolina reads, whereas safe and affordable housing is an essential need of the residents of Forsyth County, and the month of May is recognized annually as National Affordable Housing Month. Whereas affordable housing is defined by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development as housing on which a household pays no more than 30% of its gross income on housing-related expenses. Whereas Forsyth County contributes to the availability of safe and affordable housing through utilizing federal and state funds it receives as a member of the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Housing Consortium and a partner with the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Whereas Forsyth County has operated a housing rehabilitation program that assists qualifying low and moderate income homeowners with critical safety repairs for over 35 years, and since July 1, 2022, has assisted 36 households with repairs investing $487,000. Whereas Forsyth County has operated a down payment assistance program that assists low and moderate income first-time home buyers with financing to purchase a home for over 30 years, and since July 1, 2022, has assisted 21 households with home purchases, investing $1,248,000. And whereas Forsyth County further supports affordable housing through its statutory authority over planning and zoning, financial support for the Individual Development Account Program, which provides financial education, credit repair, and down payment assistance to prepare households for home ownership, and working in collaboration with partnering affordable housing agencies such as Habitat for Humanity of Forsyth County, the Housing Authority of Winston-Salem, and the City of Winston-Salem's Housing Development and Neighborhood Services Department. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes May 2024 as Affordable Housing Month in Forsyth County and encourages its observance to all county residents, adopted this 30th day of May 2024.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Redd, would you like to make a word or two, have a word or two?
First of all, thank you, Commissioner Woodbury, and to the rest of the county commissioners, I thank you as well. My name is George Redd, CEO with Habitat for Humanity of Forsyth County. I've been in this role about 2.5 years, and I have been thrilled with the partnership that we have with the county, and I have seen how it's been able to grow and thrive with our relationship as we continue to build safe and affordable housing. At this time, I would like to recognize the staff that we have here. Habitat staff, if you would please stand.
All right.
Thank you. Paula and Omar, would you please bring the check up? And the check just represents, as Commissioner Woodbury read earlier, the amount of taxes that Habitat families have paid over the amount of the last 10 years. And back here as well. Yeah.
Oh,
Here
that's
you
a
go,
nice
Omar.
number.
Get this side over here, please. From 2013 to 2023, Habitat families have paid $3,327,519 in county taxes. And that goes to show that all of our families are hardworking and deserving of their homes. So again, I really do appreciate you all giving us time to just stand before you today to talk about the positive relationship that we have with the county. And we look forward to continuing to work with you all in the weeks, months, and years ahead. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Paula Candelaria just to talk a little bit more about our the family services side. She's the director of our family services, and she just has a few words. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here with you all. At Habitat for Humanity, we build more than houses. We build hope, foster community, and create opportunities for families to thrive. By providing affordable housing and ownership to families earning less than 80% of the area median income, we offer a beacon of hope and opportunity to those who otherwise may be unable to achieve the dream of homeownership. Habitat has built over 430 new construction homes and completed 182 critical repairs in Forsyth County. Forsyth County is uniquely positioned to make significant impact in our community, is rich in resources, talent, and innovation. So through partnerships with local businesses, volunteers, and government support, Habitat can construct quality homes at an affordable price, ensuring mortgages are no more than 30% of a family's monthly gross income. One of the most profound impacts of our work is the creation of generational wealth. For many families that we serve, purchasing a Habitat home is their first step towards financial independence. It provides an opportunity to build equity, save for the future, and pass on assets to the next generation. It's a pivotal step in breaking the cycle of poverty. This ripple effect of economic stability can alter the trajectory of entire families, enabling them to pursue higher education, entrepreneurship, and other opportunities previously out of reach. The benefits extend beyond individual families to our entire county. Homeowners are more likely to invest in their properties and communities, leading to improved neighborhood aesthetics and increased property values. When families are financially stable, they contribute more robustly to the local economy through property taxes, as we see, consumer spending, supporting local businesses, and creating jobs. Studies show that children of homeowners perform better academically and have higher self-esteem, as well as are less likely to engage in problematic behaviors. A stable home environment fosters a stronger, more engaged community. Homeowners are more likely to participate in local governance, community events, and volunteer activities. So this increased civic engagement strengthens social ties and fosters senses of belonging and mutual support among residents, contributing to the overall well-being and resiliency in a community. So we are deeply grateful to be part of Forsyth County and to contribute to its growth and prosperity. Our work is a testament to what can be achieved when a community comes together with shared vision and commitment to making a difference. Thank you to the county for recognizing May as Affordable Housing Month and helping and bringing awareness into the issue in our community. Every home we build, every family with support, and every life we touch is a testament to the power of collective action. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is approval of minutes for the meeting of May the 16th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion approved by Commissioner Platter, second by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, do we have any calls or cards for the public portion meeting session?
Mr. Chairman, we have 10 cards and we don't have any callers.
All righty.
Our first speaker is Linda Winikoff. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Linda Winikoff, 3949 Chilton Drive, Winston-Salem, 27106. Chair Martin, Vice Chair Wizenhunt, and board members. I'm here in support of Superintendent McManus's local funds budget request in its entirety, but I want to speak to one line item in particular, the continued funding of 11 pre-K classrooms now that ESSER funds are exhausted. Every August, 5-year-olds across Forsyth County experience that magical day known as the first day of kindergarten. And I think that many members in our community have a misconception that it's a level playing field on that first day, that pretty much all of the students are starting from the same starting line. Yet by the end of 3rd grade, there is still a huge achievement gap that has not really changed in the 30 years I've lived here. My past work in a local school shed light as to why that might be. For many years, I worked in a local school where almost all of the families' socioeconomic status is at the poverty level. In my role there, I annually reviewed the school's beginning of year BOY kindergarten literacy data. Evident from that data was that the vast majority of the kindergartners at this school were well below BOY proficiency as they began kindergarten. Given that most of those kindergartners did not attend literacy-rich preschools because there are not enough public ones and the cost of attending a private preschool is like having a second mortgage, it was clear that the playing field for learning is not level on that first day of kindergarten. As a consequence, many of these students enter kindergarten with the literacy skills of a 3 or 4-year-old through no fault of their own. This fact necessitates that they and their teachers engage in a constant process of catch-up if they are to become proficient. That catch-up involves trying to make not 1 year of growth, but 2 to 3 years of growth in just 1 year. For them and almost any child, that requirement is unrealistic and certainly not required by their peers who attend public or private literacy-rich preschools. In the words of Marian Wright Edelman, founder of the Children's Defense Fund, the future will be shaped by our fairness to other people's children. Please help level that educational playing field at the very beginning and help build a better future by continuing the funding for the 11 literacy-rich pre-K classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just mention before our next speaker is called, and by the way, you did a great job on 3 minutes. I was just going to mention that I do have a timer, and I will please try to keep your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Valerie Glass. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Valerie Glass. I'm with Triad Restorative Justice. Do you want the address for Triad or for my personal?
Work is fine.
Okay, we're at 3 East Devonshire Street in 27127. My name's Valerie Glass. I'm the Executive Director at Triad Restorative Justice, and we have requested funding in this year's budget from the county. And since we're a small organization, I didn't know how much you knew about the work that we do, so I wanted to just have a quick chance to share with you what we do and what we're asking for funding. The programs that we are asking funding for we have 2 different programs. We work with youth who've been referred to us because of either troubling behaviors at school, disruptive behaviors, harmful behaviors, or being engaged in unlawful activities. We get referrals from Department of Juvenile Justice, law enforcement, school resource officers, schools. We can even receive referrals from parents and other community organizations. The 2 programs that we have for this is Restart, which is an anger management class that we offer for youth to help them develop strategies to better handle conflict issues and handle intense emotions. We also have Impact Circles, which is similar to mediation, where we focus on repairing the harm that has been caused by their actions and helping to kind of get to the root causes. The programs that we have are important in our community because we fill a gap between the schools and the court system. We know that in the criminal justice system, the further our students get into the criminal justice system, the worse the outcomes are. There's plenty of research studies that have shown that recidivism rates are very high, and that diversion programs like ours are much significantly more effective in getting the behavior change that we're looking for with the students that we work with. And we also know that our schools don't always have time to help kids get to address the root issues of what's underlying the behavior. And so we get a chance to really work with the students one-on-one and help them provide the supports they need and kind of go through the process of what they need to do in order to find a better version of themselves. Currently, our programs have been working at overcapacity this year. We have served 25 more students than we originally slated to serve. We get JCPC funding from the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, and our overcapacity, we've served 25 more, and we currently have 30 names on our list waiting for possible intake still. We need more funding to support the growing demand that we have, and we ask that you consider that when you're looking at your budget for this year. And also, our partnerships with the schools is very important, and we know that the funding from Tricia McManus, Superintendent McManus, is really important. So we also would encourage you to support that funding as well in full. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole Johnson, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Nicole Johnson, 641 Nokomis Court, Winston-Salem, 27106. Thank you guys for letting us have the time to speak to you today, and thank you for the work that you do. I can only imagine how difficult it is to go through this budget, especially with all the needs that are in our county, but I wanted to thank you first and foremost for that. And second, I'm here in support of Trish McManus' budget request in full. And a particular line item I'd like to speak to is regarding teacher pay and teacher retention. I am from a very long generation of teachers, and I understand the importance of teacher pay personally as part of my family history, but also as a part of our community. And one thing that I'd like to point out that I don't think has been mentioned is that our students are also watching their teachers and watching how their community values them. And I'd like to say that they also are considering careers in education, and they want to know that they will be valued and respected by their community. So I hope that you will consider that budget in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Suzanne Eppermanis, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Suzanne Eppermanis at 204 Canterbury Trail, Winston-Salem, 27104. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you again for your time. It's a privilege to speak with you today. You've heard me say before that I'm a 35-year resident of Forsyth County, a retired business manager, a member of Centenary United Methodist Church, and an active community volunteer. I'm also the mother of 4 grown children who all graduated from our public schools and are now successful in their college and their careers. Today, I'd like to focus on 3 things relative to our county's budget: trust, foundation, and community. First of all, trust. 3 weeks ago, I sat through Superintendent McManus' very detailed 80-minute presentation and Q&A on the proposed school board portion of the county's upcoming budget. I trust our teachers and administrators if they say they need an extra $20 million to support our students' and employees' wellness and success. They are the experts with access to data and resources to build an effective and reasonable budget, even if that budget includes certain items previously funded by other sources no longer available, such as ESSER. I'm sure you trust our school board too, and are also concerned about fiscal responsibility, as we all are. So let's talk about building foundations and its connection to fiscal responsibility. If we say we don't have enough money to fully fund the requested budget, what we're really saying is that other things are more important. It's a simple question of priorities. Data shows that education is a critical part of the foundation for success in life at all ages and must be our priority. Education is also something we can directly influence at the county level of government, unlike Leandro or private school vouchers. Speaking of education, this spring at Centenary United Methodist, we have been hosting discussions with local experts on housing, economic mobility, food insecurity, and gun violence prevention in order to learn how to love our neighbor better. We have heard our neighbors say that every single one of these issues is inextricably linked to economic opportunity or lack thereof. Education is the foundation that gives our children opportunity. Better educated graduates attract more employers moving to our county, increasing opportunity for all, and adding to our tax base. So fully funding the school budget is being fiscally responsible because we're investing in our economic future. Which brings me finally to community. Our community must provide the very best we can for our children. Even if it means an increase in taxes, we must do all we can to strengthen our community by strengthening our schools. In its 2023 report on the most and least equitable school districts in North Carolina, Wallet Hub ranked Winston-Salem Forsyth County as 33rd out of 115 districts in the state in our average household income, but 74th in total expenditures for public, elementary, and secondary schools per pupil. So 33rd in income, but 74th in expenditures per pupil in public schools. This puts us, Forsyth County, in the top 7 districts in North Carolina known for quote-unquote high income and low expenditures. I believe we can do better for our children, and we must. If our commissioners do not fully fund and support our public schools, then I believe it is incumbent on us to elect commissioners who will better align with our priorities so we can love all our neighbors better, including our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Patty Gillenwater, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Patty Gillenwater, 4040 Ivy Bluff Trail, Winston-Salem, 27106. Thank you all for your time today. I'm very excited to be here. I'm a little different in that I just moved here 3 years ago from Wake County. In Wake County for about 30 years, I was a very active supporter of public schools, so I'm excited to be engaged in work in our community now. This past year, I served as a tutor mentor, volunteer tutor mentor for Heart Math Tutoring at Bolton Elementary, and my board term as chair of the North Carolina Early Childhood Foundation just ended at the end of 2023. So I'm very familiar with the importance of early childhood development and investing. In fact, $1 invested brings a 400% return. So what I'd like to speak to you about today, to add on to the comments my colleagues have made, is thinking about you have so many concerns that you have to balance, obviously, and you're looking at the economy of our county. What is the message going to be if we don't fully support the budget request as our superintendent has made it? That is going to send a really terrible message to businesses that are looking at, do I want to come to Forsyth County? Do I want to go to Guilford County? I think that we all know that there is a lot of investment being made in Guilford County for public schools and public education there. So I would really encourage you to think long and hard about that and about how important it is. I was really surprised to learn that 75% of the students in our public schools here in Forsyth County are living in poverty. 75%. One of the little students that I worked with this past year, they're both very bright. He doesn't even know how to hold a pencil, and he's in first grade. So this is real. This is a real deficit that we have to make up, because if we're going to change that poverty trajectory in our community and help this next generation of children grow up to be successful individuals, which we know they are capable of doing, we can only do that by supporting public education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie Fisher Kennedy, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Stephanie Fisher Kennedy, 2700 Monticello Drive, Winston-Salem, 27106. Good afternoon. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. My name is Stephanie Fisher Kennedy, and I am a parent of a current freshman at Reynolds High School. And I have another that graduated from Reynolds last year. In addition to being a mother of two, I am also an active volunteer within the district. In fact, I was the 2022 Volunteer of the Year for the district. Volunteering has given me a front row seat at my children's education, and for the record, I love WSFCS staff and schools. The experience has been nothing short of fantastic. I have written many versions and comments and decided to go with, does working with WSFCS make sense? Get it? Sense. Caroline has just graduated from Wake Forest with a degree in education. She is in love with math and cannot wait to teach high school math. She receives rave reviews from where she completed her student teaching and from her professors alike. She has friends that are starting jobs in different counties she can share an apartment with and is eager to make a difference. She interviews at the top 4 counties in the state. First up, WSFCS. They offer her $4,540 a month for 10 months, and she is thrilled. Then she heads to Guilford County, where she is offered $4,625 a month. Things are looking better. She then travels to Mecklenburg because the Charlotte area could be fun for a single girl. They offer her just a little bit more money than Guilford, and they offer her a $2,500 signing bonus. In addition, since she's a math teacher, she qualifies for an additional $200 a month. Wow! Over $50,000 in the first year. Last, she heads to Wake County, and they love her. Starting salary is just a smidge more than the other counties, but they're offering a $12,500 signing bonus. They tell her they would love her to receive her master's so they can pay her even more. Caroline wanted to stay close to her beloved Wake Forest, but knows she will not receive additional pay for her master's down the road. And that is something she really wants to pursue. All the other districts will offer more pay for her master's. So she can choose any district except Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, and make more money from the start and continue to make more money in the future. How can the Winston-Salem, Forsyth County District hire and retain when they cannot compete with the market? They can't. Caroline is not real, but the numbers are. I am sure you have viewed the dashboard that shows the movement of teachers moving from county to county. And if you haven't, the bulk are not flowing into Winston-Salem County, Forsyth County, they're flowing out. I have many examples of current teachers in our county working an extra 1 or 2 jobs in addition to their summer job during their paid vacation to make ends meet. I also know some who have left teaching altogether. I have a neighbor that was a math teacher and now tutors for more than what she made in the classroom. A current CTE teacher at Reynolds is a medic at sporting events and works at Starbucks on his days off. A visual arts teacher that heads straight from school to mowing lawns until the sun sets at night. An increase in pay could make the difference between one less job to hold and one free night with the family. It's a night out at a local restaurant or a dance class for a child. Either way, it's money that returns to the community. Any PTA can have cupcakes and lunches every month to show appreciation for staff. But the truth is that employees, no matter what type of business, feel value primarily through compensation and second by feeling listened to. For years, our educators have been asking for decent and fair compensation.
Stillwater,
I'm done.
Just wrap up.
I have 4 sentences.
Take a couple sentences, but you're kind of.
They have been showing us the best, and my family has benefited. I can give my time, bring food for Wonderful Wednesdays, write grants, offer support however I can, but the real power lies in your hands by giving the proper compensation they deserve. If we want the best for our future in Winston-Salem, we have to hire the best and brightest to teach them. We need to show that we value and appreciate teachers, and we need to show that we want them to start and stay in our district. Supporting the budget request by Superintendent McManus is a great start. Thank you.
Ms. Fisher Kennedy, I apologize. Thank you.
Roddy Roberts, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
I am Roddy Roberts, and I live at 124 Ensley Avenue, 27106. Thank you, members of the County Commission, for offering this opportunity for community feedback and discussion. I am a homeowner here in Winston-Salem, not far from Wake Forest University. As our county leadership considers a funding increase to the county school budget, I want you to know that as a retired person on a fixed income, I favor the proposed increase. While I do not have minor children of my own, I am active at St. Anne's Episcopal Church, and we've got kids from here on up. And many of the children who attend there attend Forsyth County schools, and I love and support those children as my own. In addition, for 6 weeks every summer, I go to Old Town Elementary School, and I teach guitar during the Freedom School that is held there. And I raise enough money to provide every single one of my kids with a guitar to take home and to continue their education on their own. We do that because there is not adequate funding in our school systems. Everybody in the business knows that music and math are cross-connected in the brain. And I'm a former submarine sailor. We used to sneak in, spy, sneak out. I am sneaking math into these kids through music. And we're very hopeful. But to continue, our children deserve an excellent education at every stage of their childhood and youth. Obtaining and retaining excellent faculty and staff is essential to that end, and we want to be competitive with other districts. But beyond that, our kids deserve the best that we can afford, and we can afford plenty. As a veteran, I believe that a strong nation depends on a well-educated citizenry capable of understanding the complex issues that we face today. An excellent educational environment encourages us all to be more involved in the public square in a positive and constructive way. I want our children to grow up to serve in positions of civic leadership, like the members of this commission, who have shouldered the responsibilities of administering good and decent government. That future of good government depends on a well-funded school system. It is worth the investment. Lack of education breeds poverty. As a cost-conscious citizen, I don't want to fall into the trap of short-term savings that will cost way more in the long run. A well-educated citizenry is less likely to turn to crime, less likely to fall into drug dependency, less likely to need welfare, less likely to go to prison, more likely to offer a secure, nourishing environment to their own children, more likely to become well-employed, tax-paying members of society as they're given the opportunity. The Habitat for Humanity event earlier is a perfect illustration of that same thing. Please consider full approval of Superintendent McManus's budget request, and in the future, consider the possibility of substantial increases to our education budget so that we can be competitive with other counties in this state and across the nation. As my bartender father used to say, you pay for what you get and you get what you pay for. Let's see what we can get. Thank you.
Rosalind Sloan, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Rosalind Sloan, 4110 Winchester Road, Winston-Salem, 27106. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Thank you for having us here to speak. My name is Rosalind Sloan. I'm a registered nurse, a mother to 2 children at Spies Global Elementary, and a foster parent currently of a pre-K student. like many of the other speakers, I support funding of Superintendent McManus's full proposal. I believe all the parts that she has proposed are part of a puzzle. I will speak specifically on the value of increasing the number of school nurses. Prior to moving to Forsyth County 2 years ago, I worked as a school nurse in Cabarrus County, North Carolina. I was a regular school nurse at a regular elementary school, about 700 students, but the difference there was that we had a school nurse full-time in every single public school. I can spend my whole time reading you statistics that you can probably look up on the internet or that you're already aware of about the value of a nurse in the school, about how their kids have about twice as many illness and injury-related absences when there's no nurse on campus. When kids aren't at school, parents aren't at work, every dollar invested in school nursing yields a $2.20 societal gain in saved healthcare costs and parents being able to work. I can also tell you how each teacher loses about 20 minutes a day. Each office staff member loses about 45 minutes a day, and each administrator loses about an hour a day when there's no nurse on campus because they're dealing with health concerns. And folks, whatever the schedule says, 20 minutes, like the kids don't even get 20 minutes in practice to eat or 20 minutes for recess. Like that's real time in a teacher's packed schedule. But let's, instead of all the numbers, let's go for a walk for a day, just with me as an average school nurse, not doing anything particularly special, and see what school nurses, every extra hour on campus, what we can offer you. Let me tell you about the dozens of children who failed their vision screenings that I did every year. And I referred them to the eye doctor, and they came back with glasses, and their teachers said, "What? Their behavior, their academics, it's so much better." What about the homeless family whose girls had lice for years, and then once they had a school nurse on their side and told them how to do the treatment, they never missed another day for lice? Suddenly their teachers said they were happy. Suddenly they said they loved school. The one who hasn't been eligible for EC services because she had missed too many days of school qualified and was able to get the education that she deserved. What about the child whose seizures kept getting worse and worse? Without a full-time school nurse, it would have been difficult for school staff to manage the emergency medications, the maintenance medications, the implanted device, the 911 calls every week, watching this child shake uncontrollably and turn blue. Imagine you were his teacher. Would you want to be able to call a trained professional for help? What if it was your child? Who would you want to call onto the scene? Who would you want the teacher to be able to call? And what if your child was in their class? Wouldn't you want a nurse attending to the emergency while the teacher did her professional or his professional job of attending to the other children? When we don't fully fund school nursing, or school social work or custodial staff or bus drivers, then we are asking too much of our already strained teachers. We are detracting from the safety and success of our children, from parent and staff satisfaction, and from the economic potential of our school district and county. Let's get our schools the funding they need so that our children are, in the words of my school nurse mentor, in their seats, safe, healthy, and ready to learn. Thank you.
Jen McGarvey, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Jen McGarvey, 2860 Holyoke Place, Winston-Salem, 27106. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak today. I'm coming to speak today in support of Superintendent McManus's budget proposal. I have two students in Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. One just finished up a Math 1 EOG at Wiley as a middle schooler, hopefully getting their high school credit for math. The other one is a rising junior at the early college of Forsyth County. My 8th grader will also be going to early college next year. I'm very excited for the opportunities that offers my students. For me, I am on the school improvement team for Wiley and the early college. I sit on both school improvement teams. I'm also involved in the Wiley Family Organization as the SMOD chair, and I helped restart the PTSA at the early college as the sponsorship and fundraising chair. I was voted 2024 as Volunteer of the Year unanimously by the teachers and staff at the early college. And so I stand here as a person that is in our schools weekly, sometimes daily, depends on the day. I'll be volunteering tomorrow at Wiley to help proctor exams. I see every day the strain that is put on our principals, our teachers, our counselors, with all of the things that are happening, that's happening in our community, and that they're expected to provide an adequate education for. The least we can do is make sure that when they go home at night, they can still put food on the table. I had a very intimate conversation with a teacher last year at Wiley who was concerned that she would not be able to clothe her child when SMOD became a thing at the last minute at our school. She is a single mom of a student at our school, concerned that she would not be able to afford the clothes needed to have him there. And that is unacceptable. In North Carolina, our state constitution requires that every student gets an adequate education and that North Carolina provides it. While our state legislators continue to be derelict in their duty to provide those funds, it now falls on you to make sure that our students get the adequate education that they deserve. Please approve the budget request for Superintendent McManus. One of the things that came to mind as I heard Mr. Roddy speak is the importance of music education in our schools as well. I know that they are looking to cut some arts programs in our schools because I sit on those boards or on those student improvement teams to make sure that they can have enough teachers for the core subjects. That is also something that we should not be able to do, especially in the city of arts and innovation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chairman Martin, our last speaker is Matthew Mayers. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Matthew Mayers. I live at 2844 Wesleyan Lane. I came today actually not to speak about the school budgets, but about solar power. However, I have to say that I definitely stand in solidarity with the 9 people who came before me. And I'm going to turn around for a second and applaud them and thank them and honor them. So thank you all. Wow. That was something else. But why am I here to talk about solar power? It's because it is now the right thing to do economically and environmentally. I wanted to make sure that you are all fully aware of a campaign forthcoming in our area called Solarize the Triad. And this is a campaign that is being sponsored by 9 different organizations, including some local governments like the City of Winston-Salem and the City of Greensboro, as well as the Piedmont Environmental Alliance, Citizens Climate Lobby, the Audubon Society, and so on. It's got a broad base of support, and it's being backed up on the administrative backside by a company out of Asheville and Atlanta called Solar Crowdsource. They provide a lot of support in terms of technical knowledge, contractual knowledge, et cetera. This is essentially a group buying campaign. When a whole bunch of people go in together with a single contractor, you get better prices. Their past campaigns, this company has run about 25 or 26 of them nationwide. Their past campaigns are realizing savings in the 15 to 20% range, and that is on top of the 30% federal credits on solar installations that people can get. So, the 3 things you probably ought to know about the campaign. First, it saves people money. Good thing, right? You get your solar panels up and start to save even more as you go. It is open to individual homeowners, it's open to businesses, local governments, nonprofits, churches, etc. Second thing to know is that because it is done as a group and with professional assistance and guidance from people who are experienced in the area, it allows vetting so that we can avoid the problems that many of you may have heard about of people being predatory towards people who don't really know what's going on with the solar industry, getting into bad loans or getting a bad system, et cetera. This provides a big safeguard against that sort of thing. And third, I'd like you to know that part of the campaign is to put together a fund for support of low and moderate income folks to make this more affordable and more accessible to people who might not otherwise be able to afford it. So how can local governments help? One, you can participate. Now that you're full steam ahead on the project at Tanglewood, you're probably looking around for something else to do. I got some ideas for you. So that's one thing. Second, help us get the word out. People need to know. Those could be staff here at the county. It could be residents of the county, et cetera. You might want to offer a little bit of incentive to some staff members. And then third, and I'll sit down soon because I know I'm over my 3 minutes, it would be great to have a little seed money for the LMI fund. We want to leverage that along with the savings and the tax credits to make this much more affordable for people who need it, because affordable housing has to be sustainable housing. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have one more speaker card.
All right.
Amy North, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Amy Taylor North, 8480 Lismore Road in Clemens. I think this was destiny that I spoke after the solar panel gentleman, because one of my ideas is putting solar panels on our schools. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for all that you do. I know it's a lot, and a lot that people don't see. I'm a mother, a community advocate, a member of the Community for Public Schools, and both my boys are at West. One's already graduated. Yay. In my role with Community for Public Schools, I adopted Philo Hill as my school, and many citizens in this high-income area have never stepped foot in a school where their staff has been cut serving lunches, so the kids stand in line forever and then have 10 minutes to eat. There are so many other challenges, but we've all heard all of those today. I'm actually running for North Carolina House to do more good for our public schools, our teachers. The man I'm running against wants to expand public school vouchers, so this is what I'm doing to prevent that. Education is the most powerful tool we can use to change the world. That's a quote by Mandela. We must restore our public schools and support teachers, and you know that only your hands right now can do that. Everyone in this room is here because our students and our teachers are drowning, but you are the lifeline. It's pretty straightforward. Our community is ready to help with this important work, and we support Superintendent McManus. There's nothing more powerful than all of you at this moment. Please decide that our schools and our children are worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you for being here. Mr. County Manager, please continue with the remainder of our agenda. We're here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, board members and staff and guests. So we do have really two things. I've got the agenda items that were on the original agenda. We'll go through those. At the end, I will do a fairly brief formal introduction of the county manager's recommended budget for FY 24-25. And so I'll go through that. It's not going to be a detailed review because, as you will see next Thursday, we're going to do a deep dive into it. And there's lots of information that will be provided and lots of opportunities for discussion and deliberation really to understand the issues. So with that, I'll go ahead and dive into the agenda. Just by note, we have reviewed these 2 times in briefing sessions, spent a lot of time answering any questions and have delved into it. So we'll get on through it, but just know that we have had sufficient and thorough review of all of these. Agenda item 4 is a resolution ratifying and authorizing joint applications by the Forsyth County and the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools Board of Education to receive $3,676,466 from the Education Lottery Fund to retire a portion of the county's school bonded indebtedness. You got an associated amendment to the Public School Building Fund Grant Capital Project Ordinance. And the county's debt financing model that we use and have relied on for a long time actually incorporates these lottery proceeds into the plan. And so this is just the annual action that we take by the schools and by the county to ask the state to give us those dollars so we can make those bond payments.
Have a motion. Did you say? Commissioner Bessie, motion, Commissioner Bessie, second? Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, we have a number of contractual matters for consideration this afternoon. Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract with Election System and Software LLC for the purchase of ballot-on-demand printer systems for use by the Forsyth County Board of Education. It is a sole source procurement because of the specific system that it needs to connect to in an amount not to exceed $130,000.
We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner McDaniel. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner, Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 6 is a resolution selecting and authorizing execution of a contract with Arch Studio 7 PLLC to provide professional design services for the Piedmont Propulsion Structural Infill Project. That is a facility at the Smith Reynolds Airport that is going to better utilize some space that's really not been accessible for quite some time. It'll actually help the bottom line of the airport. And this contract would be an amount not to exceed $177,500.
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Plyler.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 7 is a resolution accepting a guaranteed maximum price proposal and authorizing execution of the design-build agreement for the building phase of the Forsyth County Agricultural Park Complex. The contractor is Shelco. The GMP, or the maximum price, is $13,623,459. If you drive up off Doral, you will see the construction on that that has started, and that project is exciting in a lot of respects. It will reuse some space that's currently cooperative extension at the airport, and that property will kind of fall into the airport portfolio and let us build the airport, make more airport improvements around that. It's a better facility for cooperative extension, and it's got a park element up there that will just be magnificent.
Motion approved by Commissioner Plyler.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, agenda item 8 is a resolution awarding contracts for non-emergency medical transportation services. It's through social services. There were 5 providers that kind of bubbled up through that process for those services.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie, second by Commissioner Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Agenda item 9 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of a contract for the construction and mounting of a 12-foot walk-around light body rescue to Custom Truck and Body Works. This will support our supplemental staffing program for fire services in an amount not to exceed $182,910.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Plyler, second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 10 is a resolution approving an amendment to the agreement with Humane Society of Piedmont Incorporated for spay-neuter surgeries at the Forsyth County Animal Shelter. We just need to extend the current contract really just because of the number of animals that have kind of flowed through that system. The good news is that they are getting adopted. It's an increase in the current contract of $20,000.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Plyler. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
There are two property matters items. Agenda item 11 is a resolution exercising Forsyth County's option to require the city of Winston-Salem to purchase the county's share of the Church Street parking deck. There was a provision in that agreement when that original economic development incentive kicked off that provides for that. And so this will authorize staff to execute all the documents to transfer ownership. The value through an appraisal was determined such that the county's ownership would be about 32.83%. The value is about $2,133,950.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Plattler.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 12 is a resolution declaring certain county-owned personal property surplus and authorizing its disposition by public electronic auction utilizing Liquidity Services Operations LLC, also known as GovDeals. The auction time is from June 10th through June 24th. The auction on the courthouse stuff closed last night, and it is remarkable how successful that appears to have been. There were literally 1,000 items that were there. The site now lets you see what the final bids were for all that was, but really a successful endeavor. I actually called Elizabeth Dampier, because we've been talking about trying to do the same thing out at SciWorks, and I told her to go look at that and see what those bids were, but it
Move approval.
was quite successful. Yeah.
Motion approved by Commissioner Plattler.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Is there any discussion? Good news. I'm glad to hear that cleaned up.
I actually want you to see it because I know you love to see a good deal, and so before you leave, swing by the office. I want to show it to you. So,
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
very good. Just have two reports. You got a fuel surcharge franchise report, and then the April 2024 contribution-based benefit cap report.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Linville.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any other business or discussion the board wants to have before I kick off the budget?
All right, no, I think we're ready to go.
Ready to go? Okay, very good. All right, so you have a very large document in front of you. This year, the cover is blue. It is 334 pages, and I promise we will get through all of that, but we're not going to get through that this afternoon. I wanted to give you kind of a high-level overview of factors that, sort of the process and kind of everything that's gone through. You see on the screen, Chantel was great to put up sort of the next steps. And so I did want to mention before I get started, there is a document kind of inside front cover. That was a special appropriation request that was received late. One of the values of this process that's been in place for quite some time really is that every request that we get from anybody, really at any time, we transfer to you. And full disclosure and transparency, if the community's asking for something, you need to see it, and there needs to not be a gatekeeper at the county manager's office to prevent the request from coming in anyway. And so, we're a public organization. We've got lots of public access, and that's really just part of the value set. So, I am honored to submit the recommended budget for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, and ending June 30th of 2025. The state statutes in North Carolina provide a very detailed set of processes and things that have to happen to do that. They are very prescriptive about how managers across the state have to present this, when we have to present it by, and sort of the rules for engagement in that. It's all outlined in North Carolina General Statute 159 and the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. I did want to say that obviously this will be my last submitted budget to this board, but this board, in its great wisdom, hired a magnificent person to succeed me, and you did it at a perfect time because Chantel and I have actually been able to step through every single meeting, every really step of the process. We've done that together, and it's been delightful, and it's better because she was closer to it this year. She's been involved for a lot of years, as she was the Human Resources Director here, had involvement there, but she also had involvement as our Health and Human Services Director. So she's very knowledgeable of all of it, but I think she saw it a little bit more closely this year, and it really, I think, pays dividend. Hopefully it'll pay dividends moving forward. I fully expect her to change a lot of things about this, and it will be better. But frankly, it's better just because she's been in a leadership role in this organization for a long time, and I'm just can't be more enthused to have someone who I think so much of follow me in this position. So, the recommended budget supports our mission. That we include in the budget, and it is to cooperatively support and maintain a community which is safe and healthy, convenient and pleasant to live in, with educational, cultural, and economic opportunity for all. We partner with many public agencies and community organizations in this mission. We provide certain functions and services which are the responsibility of all county governments and others that y'all have determined to be necessary and appropriate. I think the mission kind of says there's no way we can be everything and do everything for everybody, but we've, within the statutory alignment that we operate in, that we do this work providing quality services efficiently and effective with courteous attention to the opinions and needs of individual citizens. So I believe we've achieved that in the presentation, and obviously this board will make this budget whatever it'll make it and make it right. There's really two pieces that comprise the budget. There's a continuation budget, and that is the cost to kind of continue services at the current level, sort of at the same level. It's not exactly the way it was last year, but as we step through the budget request, the focus has been that the level of service is acceptable in the community, and so it seeks to continue that. The alternate service levels request is really where every request that comes in, whether they're special appropriations or from departments, that we include those in there so you can see that, so you can see what our departments and the community is saying that they want and how we want to change that using our continuation level really as the baseline. Whenever we start this, we always are trying to put it in context because this is a spending plan for the next 12 months. And so you have to partly think about what does the next 12 months look like. That has been extremely difficult really the last 3 or 4 years. If you think about it, we went into the 2020 budget expecting a recession that never happened. There was a recession expected the next year, and everybody's been waiting on that. And so the last 3 or 4 years have been very, very unusual, and the 12 months that preceded it just it was not what was expected. And so went out, we always look for economists that are sort of talking about that. And I found a guy that actually worked for NC State. It's kind of an agricultural economist, but what he said was the economy of 2023 was characterized by its exhibition of continued job growth, slowly falling inflation, falling to flat real wages, consumers running out of the free pandemic money, and a manufacturing sector that declined all year, even in the face of national efforts to reshore industrial production in the U.S. Overall, however, the economy in 2023 was much better than predicted by most economists, and much forecasted post-COVID stimulus recession is still yet to materialize. And so we saw that when we closed out the year. We realized that there were sufficient pay-go dollars, sales taxes had continued to grow, and there was a lot of kind of this continued prosperity. In his outlook for 2024, Dr. Dorfman suggests that the economy will muddle along in 2024 with either slower growth or an outright recession. He does not predict a severe recession since businesses are reluctant to lay off workers because they've had issues hiring. We've all been in that issue. And he predicts that inflation will continue a gradual decline back towards the Federal Reserve's 2% per year target. So we really went into this almost kind of seeing a normal sort of things normalizing, and that's really one of the themes of this budget. And so we really did see kind of an unsustainable revenue stream. There were significant one-time expenditures. We've had a lot of money that was one-time money, and we had to try to figure out how to get that in the community without it bankrupting us, later on down the line. And I just got to recognize that y'all had that conversation early. You took some policy measures to ensure that county operations did not become overly dependent on those one-time revenues. And we've still got some of those dollars out there, but you managed to do that. The other thing is we put together this budget that is just a reality is we have been budgeting all year long. And so there's actually some decisions that this board made that are, I just want to assure you that things that we have done are actually in here the way we talked about it over the last year. And some good examples of that, the behavioral health maintenance of effort funding, that's a substantial over $4 million. Y'all made some decisions about that for next year. Those are in this budget the way you approved those. Opioid settlement funds, a significant amount of money, both fund balance, kind of one-time money, and then the annual expectations for that. Those are in here as you've already taken action to handle that. ARPA dollars are in here. Some ARPA dollars are transferred into the general fund. A lot of that $74 million spend was actually spent through the ARPA special revenue funds, or separate dollars, not the general fund. But there's about $3 million that's still in here that's kind of ARPA related. PAYGO funding took up action, obviously, a little bit later than we normally would have. That actually paid off because it let us look at some of those expenditures a little later in the year, and there is some help in the coming year's budget that wouldn't have been there if we'd have made those PAYGO decisions early. So that was helpful, and we can go through in detail what those are. We talked a lot about fire tax districts and the fire tax overlay. This board made a very specific decision not to eliminate the fire tax overlay district, but also not to rely solely on it and to leave the separate fire tax districts in place. So that this budget does that, with this idea that at some point in time, maybe it does make sense to rely more on the overlay district. Community grants and special appropriations, actually in two separate times, we got you those lists, so you've seen those. And we got those and disclosed those really early. We've been dealing with labor market issues and had to take actions throughout this year. One example of that was early in the fall. The board really had to address staffing issues at the detention center. This board did that. That is actually, we'll talk a little bit as we dive into it. That improvement, that improvement has been realized. We had to monitor revenues kind of throughout this, through this, and one of those happened to be the loss of Medicaid hold harmless revenue. Those are one of those things that we don't find out until late in the year, what that looks like, and the sales taxes that had gone up dramatically in the last couple of years actually made available some hold harmless revenue. As sales taxes have gone back down, that starts disappearing, and so that impacts this budget a bit. Obviously, lots of discussions throughout the year with the schools, really about their financials, about their fund balance that they have, about their compensation, particularly around classified employees. And so we've been in this dialogue that really has dealt with the budget around the schools all year long. And then finally, this board has been on the journey with us as we've changed out our administrative systems, a very difficult project, and I appreciate the patience and mercy that you've given us around that system. That system will pay dividends. We're already starting to see that. I think we're in a much better place. We're certainly in a much better place last year when I was in front of this board presenting the budget, and I think we're in a great place moving forward. So just in general, a few broad comments about this budget. The spending plan really that's recommended really is a continuation level of service into 2024-25. If I had to characterize it, I would say it is a hold the line budget and that maintains service levels, and it really is kind of a return to normalcy. And unless there's kind of crazy economic things that occur, this is kind of how local government grows, frankly, from a revenue side. It does not recommend some significant service expansions, but obviously, if a majority of board wants to go beyond the tax rate that I'm recommending, you've got a format that you can certainly do that. In summary, the board budget is balanced as required by the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. It is a $581 million budget. That's only up about $11.4 million from the previous year, but it's really only up about 2%. And so our growth overall in the budget is pretty low for this year. So it's a 2% growth. I could not get it balanced without really impacting continuation service levels at the current rate. And so I am recommending a very slight tax rate increase. The rate would go from 6.778, the current rate. It would go up 0.45 cents to 68.23. So it's a fairly nominal, small increase, but at the end of the day, we just could not see a way to balance it without impacting a service level, and felt like that needed to be conveyed that way to the board. Primary revenue sources, 73% of the money is locally generated. It's property taxes and sales taxes. You'll see when we dive into it, some of the fee-based things that we do, and some of the things that we call enterprise activities, like the golf course at Tanglewood. Obviously, if I'm a golfer, nobody wants their tax dollars to pay for my golf game, and so we strive to make sure that golf course breaks even. And so we've identified all of these activities in parks, particularly at Tanglewood, that are revenue generating. And I'm really pleased to say, we've got kind of a target of what kind of revenue we want those to generate. And we generally want those to generate about $1.5 million of revenue to fund sort of the rest of some of the park stuff. And this year it does that, and does that very, very well. People are recreating, and that is good. Obviously, the airport, we expect that to pay for itself, and that continues that in the same vein this year. Property tax equivalent, Commissioner Linville always wants to know that. 1 penny on the tax rate generates $4,577,669, and that is really only up slightly from the current year. Currently, it generates $4,497,354. We have appropriated a fairly significant amount of fund balance, $17,448,511, which is $2,417,240 more than the amount in the current budget. We have had some good years. Again, this is a funding plan or a spending plan for the next year. Anything can happen with revenues. We actually don't know how our year end will end until about middle of September. And so we've made some projections about what we think sales taxes are going to do between now and then. If I had a crystal ball and I was always right, I'd probably be doing something different. I don't know. But we do feel good about that estimate. I did want to say that, over the last 3 years and into this year, we have relied on ARPA revenue loss, on the one-time money that came from that, actually to fund about $6 million of kind of what would be sort of extra fund balance in this budget, basically letting taxpayers keep their tax dollars to that tune of that over the last 4 years. That will end next year. And so next year, when in the midst of the reval, there'll be what is about a little penny, 1.2 or whatever. There'll be whatever the equivalent is then. That will be sort of an embedded tax rate just to kind of continue operations. So you have allowed taxpayers to keep some of their money over the last 3 years, and that continues into this year, really to fund kind of ongoing operations. The last thing I just want to say is that I get to work with the most amazing people in the world, and it's really been a team effort. We've got an amazing group of leaders that I get to work for an amazing elected board, but we have an amazing group of department managers that have been part and parcel of this. They are very conservative. They are very much care about how those dollars are spent, and they make sure that they're spending that money the way that they would expect anybody to spend it, and do so responsibly. And so I'm so thankful for that. I think we've been successful at building a culture around that in this organization, and Chantel's been a big part of that. Our elected leaders, Sheriff Kimbrough and Register of Deeds Lynn Johnson, are fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better group of sort of elected department managers. Kyle Wilson, amazing guy. He plows through this every year, and he's got a great team of folks. They'll be up here when we kick off the sessions to provide insight and information. I was talking to the chairman the other day about it, and I said, every number on this page has a bunch of spreadsheets and a bunch of other things behind it that built it. And so you are welcome to, we can dive into that. There's lots of things that go into this, both monitoring it and then building it from a budget perspective. But the budget staff, Kim Bussey, Aisha Carter, Michaela Westbrook, Casey Ballstrom, Will Fulbright, they're terrific. And we've been fortunate to be fully staffed kind of this whole year. Terry, thank you so much for plugging through this, the system change and getting everything done, and your team, because I know that's been hard, but budgets and you make sure that we get spent right and properly, and we very much appreciate that. In our office, Chantel and Damon and I get to work, but we've got Ashley Matthews and Rosalind Covington just to keep things great and keep things light, and it's just an absolute delight. And then the citizens, we live in a great community, and the best day that I ever have is when somebody comes in mad, and I can talk a little bit about, kind of fully disclose what things are, and sometimes they still leave a little irritated, but most of the time they realize that we're all trying to work to make this community better, and we're really there for them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank the staff.
And so on the screen, you'll see where we are next Thursday. We'll be in here at 9 o'clock. We're here on 4th floor.
It will be in here.
Okay, so we'll do our detailed budget review and work session. We're going to do it in here. Yes, we are going to do it here. Okay, in here. And then public hearing, we landed on 6 o'clock, right? Yes. So public hearing on the budget on Monday.
I'm sorry, Kyle and I are talking. I'm so sorry. Will you repeat what you just said?
Public hearing on the budget in here at 6 o'clock.
Yes, sir, it is.
On the 10th, okay. And then June 11th, we'll be back in here really for the workshop and deliberations to process kind of what we hear from the public hearing, and then make sure we've got all the questions that you need, and we'll continue on that on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then potentially adopt on June 13th. If you're ready, if you're not, you got till June 30th. Can't raise the property tax rate until, you can't raise the property tax rate in July. You got to do it by June 30th, or you got to do a CR. But under any set of circumstances, the rate's got to be determined by the end of June 30th. So the budget is yours, and we'll be off and running with it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Chairman, if I may, I just have a few comments that I'd like to leave with Dudley to prepare us for the workshop and deliberations. First of all, with regards to the tax rate, I need to know where we land in the state. You don't have to know now, but just, that's an FYI.
Sure.
And with regards to the schools, I would like to see a side-by-side with regards to I know that we're not using the formula, but if we were using the funding formula,
Sure.
What would that look like in terms of the budget and what that would look like again? So I'd like to see what that looked like. And with your proposed budget for the school systems, I would need to know, if we were to try to get to the $20 million ax, how much more of an increase would that be? And I'm axing because, again, I try to be not a conservative fiduciary, but responsible. And previous years, since I've been on this board, we have not increased taxes. However, I have to be reminded that I'm representing a district that may not be able to afford such. So I need to just I'm muddling through those things. And then lastly, I had a question with regards to the systems and whether the consultants were still working with us on the system that we have. I was in a department on yesterday, and they seem to still have some problems. And I asked questions that I wasn't quite clear on, so I need to know where they are. You're telling me that it's great, but when I experienced it myself yesterday, was just a little bit of challenges, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's great. I would say it's better. It's, we're on a pathway of improvement, and yeah.
Okay.
And
that's all I
I'll be
have.
interested in talking with you about specific,
Yeah.
what we got.
Okay, thanks, Chairman. That's all I have.
Just a couple of things of a similar nature. On the school part, in the early part, where you're showing the per pupil expenditure part, I know the data will not be available, for FY '24, but we should be able to get it for FY '23 to see how we compare to the urban counterparts of basically Wake and Charlotte and Durham and Guilford and us on that. But it shows we have hours and what's happening with enrollment changes and that piece. It'd be nice to see that, because the school district shared with us the supplement part, I believe, that we're now 7th in the state in teacher supplement. Obviously, a part of our Article 46 is the main contributor to that, sales tax. And it would be nice to see kind of where we're a lot of comparisons today in our public comment session, and a couple of those comparisons with the urban counterparts will be good. And there's actually another number that is it's fairly easy. It's easy to get from the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners to get the total property assessment, and I'd say those are probably also back in probably 23 maybe. And actually take a look at the property assessment behind each pupil, because we would know on that same year. The Public School Forum actually calculates that. I'm not sure it's now all web-based, and I don't think they give the background with that data. We used to have a chart that you could find that. Which kind of shows how many property assessment dollars are behind every child, which is sometimes a revealing statistic. That's what the Public School Forum uses to actually make predictions on sort of effort. They do an effort calculation, and we heard some comments today that kind of got at that, and it'd be nice if we had the most recent actual calculated data that kind of helps put in perspective how we are with the rest of the districts in the state.
We do a fair amount of detail in that, so we'll certainly do that. Yeah, when the comment was made, I actually had questions around the source of that. It is complicated because there are things. For example, our school nurse program is funded by the county. And so we really don't get credit on a per pupil basis for the expenditures we make for the nursing program, where for school systems where the dollars are just transferred to them, that's not going to move the needle a ton, but it's real money. And so the comparison that are sometimes difficult. Then the other part of that on the effort side of things is because everybody's on a very different place with a revaluation cycle. You've got to do some effective valuation to get to the levy piece of that, and it's particularly difficult right now because the levy has moved so much, because property values have gone up so much, that for folks who have done a revaluation just in the last 3 or 4 years, their tax rates are in some cases way low. I looked at Mecklenburg's 45 right now, I think. So those
Mr. Chairman, may I speak for just a moment?
Mm-hmm.
When I became a member of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, I'd spent, many, many years at WXI television, and I saw county managers come, I saw them go, I saw the boards change, and I thought, well, what's it going to be like if I'm on that board? And I've been on this board since Dudley came on this board, and he's leaving this board about the time I'm going to leave. And what I have determined over the years that we've been working with Dudley, he could have thrown his hands up and said, "This is it. I'm just not going to take this. Forget it." But this has been probably, in my memory, the most steady, positive, successful journey as a county manager I have witnessed in all the years that I've been in Forsyth County. And I can't help but think, I could sit here and talk all night long, but I think as we come to the conclusion of this meeting and before we vote on the budget, Dudley Watts is one of those people who can walk out of this building with a smile on his face and a song in his heart and a feeling that he did the job. And I'm delighted to be able to say that, and I thank you for the time.
Very good. Thank you, Dave, for saying that. I have one other question in this book, and I assume I'm going to find, it may be, but in terms of, in the actual positions, I'm kind of interested, I'm not really interested in there are lots of lump numbers here in salaries, but I'm kind of curious, particularly in the number of new positions that are a part of the continuation budget. And that's the whole issue of, if we keep providing this service, it's going to take more people to do it. And I'm real curious what those numbers look like. And I think, I may, page 65? Yeah. All right, good. All right, great. And then I think in the back, in the appendix, you get to see what the original requests were. But in the back on the appendix, it doesn't show what the amount, what the final requested part. And if I'm looking, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I'll look at it. I'll have it done that by next Thursday. I'll be ready for that piece as we get ready. But I'm just want to make sure I can locate all that. So 65's got the continuation, the new positions in the continuation book, in the continuation budget.
So it's a pretty good crosswalk to it.
Yep, I got it.
He's got this chart with it and kind of what happened. And what you'll see is that, our operations are, we did not, it was not a cookie cutter from last year. And so there are changes in some positions, eliminated some.
Yeah, I got it.
Most of them were really around, was not around service level expansion, it's around compliance. And then to avoid patient service, which is really the case. I think we recommended advanced EMTs because we have been dealing with the constant issues.
I got you. Any other just general questions now before we move to the briefing part? Thank you.
Thank you. I do have several questions and requests for information that will help me better understand some of the details that we've been discussing for a while now. First, are ASLs in this document, or are they separate?
Yeah, they are actually in the appendices, and it is most of what the appendices is, and they start roughly on page.
They're on page 200.
Yeah, I'll look them up. Thank you.
213, yeah, and you'll see them in two groups. You'll see them in kind of the alternate service levels, kind of from departments, and then you'll see them from special appropriations.
Okay. Now, with regard to the much-discussed school system request of an extra $20 million, is one of the ASLs laid out with that as a unique ASL?
We actually do not have it in there as an ASL, but I can have one written up and as a supplement kind of thing, and I can get it out to everybody. I can write one up for you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of in the school's write-up page.
It is in the write-up. They're in the overview discussion of the schools, and on the in the departmental section a little bit. There is a write-up of what they requested what they requested, and then what was recommended to be funded. But we can I can definitely
We'll dive
write up
into
an
the
ASL.
rationale in the manager's recommended budget and a comparison with what, we've moved away from the formula, but we still track it. And actually, my recommendation was higher than what the formula would have been by a right smart amount.
In your recommended budget, are there any changes to the school system's budget related to their request since the time that you gave us a preliminary briefing on that?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So a couple of other things that would be helpful for me to know. How much are we estimating to come in annually in the next fiscal year from the quarter-cent sales tax that's being used for teacher supplement?
Specifically for schools?
Yeah.
It's right around 20, it's a little, maybe just right over 20 million. That's in the overview as well, when we talk about sales taxes, but it's on page 17. It's 20,563,000.
Can you write that down for me and also calculate this? The current supplement level, what we've been making available for supplements and they've been using annually, how much does that amount to? What I'm trying to get at is, what do we expect to come in from that source for supplements annually that they haven't been utilizing? And I'm asking that because, in reference, the school board chose to utilize the entire reserve that they had in a single year. So when they are requesting an estimated, $5 million from this budget, or not necessarily, when they were requesting $5 million from this budget for, addition to the supplements, then what do we expect to come in that's available from the quarter-cent sales tax on an ongoing annual basis? And what I'm trying to get at the estimated annualized impact of raising the supplements by the amount requested by the school board. And I don't think we're quite getting that by simply saying it's going to be $5 million a year. I think there's some differential in there.
Yeah, I think when we dive into it, it'll take a little bit, it'll be a protracted conversation because it is kind of complicated. I think when they did this last appropriation, they actually did they use they didn't use the dollars from our 23 closeout, I don't think.
No, because not the 23 closeout, but that was like maybe 900,000, I think.
Yeah, so there was a little money that was on the table that when they were talking about it, we were trying to close out our audit. We just, and I mentioned it to Tommy, but I don't think he ever, he didn't include it. So he was using a kind of old number when they took this last action. And I said it to him, but.
But that 900,000 should have been in their $4 million.
It could have been, yeah.
It almost had to be, because they received that back late last fall, and let me back up. The question that we don't know is whether the number that we were given was in fact the actual number or an approximation. And part of the issue on approximations anyway is that the supplement changes every year just with the experience level. I mean, if you have a person working literally today and they leave today, and even if no one is hired, the supplements will shift simply because you may have changed a whole bunch of other people's supplement because a person left, and the people never know it simply because, they're going to get, the amount is spent changes because you shift state dollars. Sure. State dollars will shift and all that kind of stuff, and you never know until the end of the year what you actually spent on it. So you got to operate in sort of gross kind of big numbers. on that, and they've operated kind of gross big numbers like 1% or percentages. And then they've applied it equally across a schedule that they had, which has pluses and minuses. Minus in that you're not increasing your beginning people to attract them, which is part of the scenario we heard today about going around for a first-year teacher, because it's not weighted that way, but only to the extent that if you're getting a 2% raise and you're making less money than more money, you're basically getting a smaller amount, and that's about it.
And I understand the basic budgeting principle. We're estimating, and what you actually spend at the end of the year is not exactly the same as you budgeted.
Oh, no, yeah,
because,
exactly.
you know, you have those reality changes. I'm just trying to get my handle on the differences between what's in the recommended budget, what they're asking for specifically in round terms, and to understand the differences and where they come in. But I think I've asked the questions I need on that. One other thing. There are a number of items that are included in the special appropriations category this year that were in this projected budget that were not included in special appropriations previously, so that I can, do an oranges to oranges comparison of the total amount allocated last year for what we're calling special appropriations this year. Can we have a list of every, organizational expenditure that was previously associated with the departmental budget that you have shifted to a special appropriations in category? How much they got last year and what they're asking for this year, and if we reverse that decision and return those to the departmental budgets, what would it mean in terms of what they'd be getting on a continuation budget? So,
That's pretty easy it was not that many, and it's pretty simple. We'll make sure that review of that special appropriations piece includes that variable.
yeah, and because and in a separate document, please. Sure. Because I have a hard time, leafing through multiples to put them together. Because you'd mentioned previously that there were 5, I believe, economic development related things, or that were included in the CED departmental budget previously, that are now coming under special appropriations. And I think that you subsequently mentioned that there are some other expenditures, organizational related expenditures in other departments. I don't know which those are. So if we were trying to stick to an expenditure level of X million for special appropriations and sort of cap it at that for the coming year, what's our actual target? So part of the reason I'm asking. Those are 2 of the reasons I'm asking about that.
Yeah, so from a financial perspective, it's if it was in the department, we moved over special appropriations, we moved the funding level, so it's still in the money's still in the budget, just decide what to do with it. And I think from a policy perspective, as we step through this, if there are outside agencies or services that you really feel like are should be and are embedded and need to be embedded in departments, then, for goodness sakes, let's identify those and pull those over. That's absolutely, we had been through that exercise a number of times in previous years, and so.
Yeah. And in fact, I favor that kind of movement, which is why I'm concerned when I see things that have been associated for years with departmental budgeting coming out into sort of the wide open spaces of competition, unstructured, pure political competition between categories,
right?
Without, really taking into account what it means to
a real policy focus on that through this process will really help Ms. Robinson out. That'll be great.
That's all. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I know Gloria's ready to take a break, but if I could just expound real quick on Commissioner Bessie's last question as well, relative to the ARPA funding, knowing that there would be possibly be some revisions to come back, that's going back into revenue loss, correct?
Yeah, the ARPA,
We're not, I mean, you got some folks that's going to be non-compliant and it's coming back. So again, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out what that approximate amount, does that make sense?
yeah,
Could possibly be.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that when we step through the detailed session, we'll talk about sort of the ARPA impact on this and where we are. Because the federal government was easing up on certain things around the ARPA rules, we actually made a decision to not try to reconcile that until sometime in the fall, because it is a lot easier to use those dollars. And so I do think you'll have an opportunity to do some funding conversations about ARPA funds sometime next fall. And I think that's important to know going in this budget. I don't think it's going to be a ton of money, but I think we'll embed a conversation
for
in
the
this.
schools if we needed to do that in the future. So I'm done. Okay, Gloria, we can conclude.
Good. But let's go ahead and adjourn. We'll take about a 5-minute break. Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Good. Done. All righty. Welcome as we return to welcome everyone to the May 30th, 2024 briefing. And this is a briefing for the regular meeting on June the 13th, 2024. We have no discussion items today, and the county manager will review the items we'll consider on June the 13th, and we will brief fully next week.
Next Thursday, right? In fact, I wanted to make one clarification because I should have stayed with my original gut instinct. Yeah, that meeting next Thursday at 9, we generally do that one on the 4th floor, a little tighter quarters, when a little more opportunity just for discussion amongst you, and there's space for the media will be there and everybody, but we will be on the 4th floor. So, okay. And then we'll be back up here at 2 for the full briefing. So, and pretty easy agenda. Obviously, everybody's been busy getting ready for other things, so it's a fairly manageable agenda. There is one public hearing item that we do need to brief in full, and so as Sonny is here, he's going to brief a public hearing to consider the expenditure of county general funds for an economic development project and authorizing an agreement with a company, and then you've got an associated resolution that the board would act on. So, Sonny.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Pleasure to be before you all again. This item is for an economic development incentive package to assist a company looking to expand and locate here in Forsyth County, and we'll give full details at the June 13th public hearing. But the company is an interior door manufacturer, and they're looking to expand their facility here in Forsyth County due to product demand, seeking a location with strong labor production, which finds Forsyth County favorable. This facility will be located in the Union Cross area, and the company is also looking at locations in Concord, North Carolina, and Fort Mill, South Carolina. Capital investment will be $10.5 million in capital investment. That would generate at least 69 full-time jobs. And those jobs have an expected average salary of just north of $51,000 per year. This will be a 5-year incentive, and the county's incentive, once again, would be 50% of the expected taxes. So the estimated max incentive would be $147,981. Company is involved in workforce development, so they look to partner with all our workforce development partners. City of Winston-Salem is also expected to offer local incentives as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions, but we'll have a full detailed presentation at the public hearing where we'll also detail the company name as well.
When will the advertisement be made? Is the advertisement already been out there?
So a notice will be published on June 3rd.
June 3rd, okay. All right.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Hassan? Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Sonny. All right, so the rest of the agenda is pretty straightforward. You have several special resolutions. You got a resolution recognizing June 10th through the 16th as Men's Health Week in Forsyth County. So you have some public health folks here to accept that. Item 3 is a resolution recognizing June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and probably someone from Social Services will be here to take that. Item 4 is a resolution designating new review officers to review and certify maps and plats for Forsyth County. That there is a requirement that y'all approve those, and those come through Chris Murphy and through planning, but that is a requirement. Minutes that will be forthcoming. A couple of budget and finance items. You've got an amendment to the 24 budget to appropriate some operational fan heat relief program funding allocation. We've got an unexpected allocation coming in on that. And then you've got an amendment to the fiscal year 23-24 budget orders to appropriate claims for proceeds for fleet vehicles and claims repairs. Really just helps us make sure that we don't have a budget overrun issue, and we can recognize that revenue into our claims budgets. I have a number of contracts. You've got a contract authorizing execution of contract with Brentwood Services Administrators for comprehensive management third-party TPA services for workers' compensation, auto, general, and property liability and claims. We sort of revamped our risk management program. Part of that was looking at our TPA services, so we went out for bid, looked at the marketplace, and we're going to bring you a recommendation for that. Item 9 is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the agreement with Wake Forest Health University Baptist Medical Center for wellness, on-site medical services, and occupational health services that is somewhat related to that whole risk management piece that we're working on. You got an item 10, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Josh Myers Valuation Solution for statistical analysis services. Obviously, John's working on the revaluation and that side of things, and so he will bring that to you. Last week, the audit committee met with the outside auditors, and the auditor presented to this board, and so we are presenting a resolution authorizing execution of an engagement letter and audit contract with Cherry Beckert LLP for audit services, and so we'll bring that in. Item 12, you got a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement to provide microtransit service to county residents for employment-related services, and so we will bring that to you for your consideration. And then a property matter, which is a resolution authorizing execution of a consolidated and restated lease agreement with Horizons Residential Care. As you remember, they received an ARPA grant to actually build some smaller housing units on that site. And so as they've done their plans, that lease needed to be modified. And so Kirby will present that to you kind of in conjunction with the Trails project, which will come up behind that. I kind of fell into play with that a little bit. We had to move the trails a little bit, so we'll also talk to that. But that is it. Like I say, a pretty straightforward agenda, but we'll have a really busy Thursday because we'll be diving deep into all 300 and some odd pages of this. And we'll start getting questions answered and probably creating some new questions to get new answers to and all that kind of stuff. All right. So look forward to a busy week. And again, we'll be Thursday, 9 o'clock, 4th floor.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Adjourn.